I'm so glad you stopped by.
Sorry it's been a while, Grandma.
Not at all. Give us a kiss. Now come and sit down. Tell me how you're doing.
That's my Gran. Adorable as always.
You're such a tease.
The sofa has a worn blue chintz pattern that Gabriel remembers fondly. Gabriel grew up in this room. Just being here make him feel safe. And after about 5 minutes, claustrophobic. Granny's knitting. She whips through that stuff like there was no tomorrow. The double doors lead to Granny's front lawn. Granny has a way with plants and kids. On the wall are portraits of Gran and Gramps when they were young. Gabriel's inherited some good-looking genes. The stairs lead up to the attic. Granny's side chair still has that annoying loose spring in the seat. That clock has been in the Wright family, Granny's family, for centuries. Granny likes soft lighting. Fresh carnations, Granny's favorite. The wood in the bin is southern pine and is probably fossilized by now. Grandmother Knight rarely uses the fireplace these days. Too much of a hassle to clean. Mostly pictures of Gabriel, his dad, and Harrison Knight.
How you been, Gran?
Just fine, dear. I'm sorry I bothered you at work, but I was hoping you'd get a chance to go through your father's things in the attic.
Don't be silly. You can call me anytime. Is there anything you need?
Me? Oh, no. I'm just fine, Gabriel. I have more than enough of everything.
You're looking well, Gran.
Thanks, dear.
Done anything interesting lately?
I raised you.
Lately, Gran.
Oh, you know me, Gabriel. I always got my nose poked into something.
It must run in the family. Nice weather.
Oh, Gabriel, please. It's been just awful. Muggiest summer of my life.
Nice weather.
Oh.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
What can you tell me about voodoo?
Voodoo? What an odd question, Gabriel. Of course, you always were interested in monster movies and all that other weird stuff. You get that from your father and Granddad. I don't know anything about it, dear. Of course, it was very big in New Orleans at one time, but you don't hear about it so much these days. Too much else in the world to worry about, I guess.
What do you know about the voodoo murders?
Oh, Gabriel, nothing. And I don't want to. I sometimes wonder what this world is coming to.
What can you tell me about New Orleans?
New Orleans is very southern. Of course, though, not as much as it used to be when I was a girl. It's gotten much more influenced by the East Coast and that California stuff. Still, it hasn't changed as much as other places, I reckon. We've always been happy here.
Tell me about yourself.
Me? Oh, surely you have something more interesting to talk about.
Oh, come on, Gran.
All right, dear. What do you want to hear?
What do you do all day?
You know how I love to knit and work in my garden. I also take long walks. It's the only way to keep an old body like mine from stiffening up.
You're not old.
Oh, don't be foolish. I'm older than the hills.
Tell me about before you met Granddaddy.
Well, you know I was born Rebecca Wright. My daddy owned a lot of land outside of town. We grew peas, corn, cotton, all kinds of things. It was a good childhood, but my father was very strict. He didn't much let me out of his sight.
Tell me how you met Granddaddy.
I met Harrison at a church revival. There was a traveling preacher back then, a big fella named Reverend Jim. I even remember his slogan, "Come to me to find your way." Your granddad was sitting right behind me and my girlfriend Alma, and at one point, old Reverend Jim was flinging his hair around with his fire and brimstone antics, and a piece of it, one of those small add-on do's for man, went flying off. I swear, Harrison and I were the only ones that noticed. We both started laughing to beat the band. Everyone looked at us like we were a couple of loonies. It was then I knew that he was for me.
How you feeling these days?
Fit as a fiddle, and don't you worry your head about it.
Just tell me anything at all.
I had your father when I was 22. The doctors told me I couldn't have any more after him, so I'm afraid I spoiled him rotten.
Just tell me anything at all.
I never loved any man but your grandfather, and I never will.
Just tell me anything at all.
I hate to admit it, but I was a jealous little thing when your granddad and I were younger. I loved him so ferociously, and he did attract the eyes of the ladies, whether he wanted to or not.
Just tell me anything at all.
I get lonely sometimes, but I have lots of girlfriends in the neighborhood. I call one of them if I'm feeling blue.
Just tell me anything at all.
I wish you'd settle down and give me a great-grandchild.
Oh, Gran. Just tell me anything at all.
I had your father when I was 22.
Oh, nothing, never mind.
All right, dear.
Tell me about our family.
Who would you like to hear about? Your granddad, your father, or your mother?
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad immigrated to America when he was 21. He worked his way through school, met and married me, and we had your father, Philip.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Your granddad supported me and your father with bookkeeping. I'll tell you what, though, he hated every minute of it. Didn't really like bookkeeping one bit. Maybe that was why he had the worst luck with jobs. The nights he'd come home afraid to tell me he'd lost another. And I would tell him it didn't matter to me, but he felt ashamed, Gabriel.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Harrison was only 36 when he died. Your father was 8 years old at the time. Your granddad was hit by a streetcar in the business district. Took me nearly a year to believe he was really gone.
I'm sorry, Gran.
I know you are, dear.
Tell me something about Granddad.
Did you know that your granddad was a poet? He was! He wrote the most beautiful poetry for me when we were courting. I always thought he should have done something with that gift. But he was such a practical man. Didn't believe in chasing after dreams.
Tell me something about Granddad.
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
Tell me about my father.
Your father was my only child. How we adored him. Philip suffered from terrible nightmares, just like your granddad did. They were 2 peas in a pod.
Tell me about my father.
When Philip met your mother, it was love at first sight. They were married 2 weeks later. Never looked at a girl seriously until then, and he looked at plenty. You have your father's way with women, Gabriel, and your granddad's.
Tell me about my father.
I wanted to just lay down and die when he and your mother were killed in that car crash when you were only 8. was the thought of taking care of you that kept me going, Gabriel. The police say your father swerved off the road after being frightened by something. Perhaps a deer in the road or a wild cat.
Tell me about my father.
Your granddad wanted Philip to have a normal life. He was obsessed by that thought. He pushed Philip to go to law school. Philip was driven to art. He painted almost in a daze. He would get so inside himself when he worked.
Tell me about my father.
He always hated it that it was Margaret's money that supported the three of you when his painting couldn't. I kept telling him, try something more cheerful, like a landscape or two. But he couldn't do it. His work was just too dark and disturbing for the public, you know.
Tell me about my father.
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
Tell me about my mother.
Your mother was Margaret Templeton when your father met her. She came from a very wealthy Creole family in New Orleans. She was beautiful and reckless. She was madly in love with your father, of course, but I also think she liked defying her family. Since you're so interested in family history these days, why don't you go by St. Louis Cemetery No. 1 and visit the family tomb? It would be a sweet gesture.
Maybe I will. Tell me about my mother.
Your mother's family refused to give her money after the marriage. All she had left was a modest trust fund from a great-aunt, who happened to like Philip. The remainder of your mother's trust fund became yours when she died. That's what you used to open your bookshop.
Tell me about my mother.
The Templetons are all gone now. Every last one of them. They never wanted anything to do with us, of course. What a waste.
Tell me about my mother.
I don't know what else to tell you, dear.
You know, you get prettier every time I see you.
Oh, you.
Have you baked any of your incredible molasses pies lately?
No, dear. But you let me know when you want some, and I'll whip up half a dozen.
You've lost weight. Are you courting a new man?
Oh, Gabriel, don't be silly. You know there'll never be anyone but your granddad for me.
Your hair looks very pretty today, Gran.
Well, why, thank you, dear. So does... you always had such nice, thick hair, Gabriel.
You know, I always tell people that my Gran is the prettiest grand old belle in the city.
Oh, dear. You shouldn't talk so.
You know, I'm going to go up to the attic, Gran.
Be careful of the dust.
These old picture frames have been up here for years.
That must have been the year Granddaddy caught Santa on the roof.
It's an old, dusty bicycle tire. Grandma's attic is a storehouse of forgotten treasures and useless junk. The stairs lead down to the parlor. It's an old metal tub full of dust and cobwebs. It's a lady's hat from the 1920s.
From Gran's Virginia Woolf period.
That tennis racket probably hasn't served a ball since the 40s. Gabriel has seen these ornaments every year at Christmas for as long as he can remember. Grandma's attic. The old velvet curtains hung in the parlor before Gran lightened up the place. A skylight lets welcome sunlight into the attic. Grandma's... It's one of Grandma's old parlor tables. The sheet-covered upholstered rocker used to be in Gabriel's nursery. That box of knickknacks has been up there for at least 5 years. The brass bed frame is from God knows where. The old trunk looks like it's gone to hell and back. An elaborate mechanical clock, probably of German origin, is among the discarded treasures of the attic. It doesn't seem to be running at the moment. There's a sketchbook on the chair that Gabriel vaguely remembers as his father's.
I think I'll take Daddy's sketchbook with me.
The tweezers from the bookshop are an old stainless steel pair that Gabriel's had forever. The magnifying glass is an expensive one with an inlaid jade handle, an heirloom from Gabriel's grandfather. The $20 gift certificate for St. George's looks pitifully new and unused. Gabriel got the flashlight free in the mail when he ordered a magazine subscription. It works though. At the moment. The jar contains frou-frou hair gel. Gabriel looks fondly at his father's sketchbook and charcoal pencil. That item cannot be read. There's nothing written on the magnifying glass. The gift certificate is written up generically and has the store's name and amount penned in by Gabriel himself. The flashlight has printed on it the legend, "Cold Cell Brokers. Mortgages are up." The label on the hair gel jar talks about mysterious Hawaiian roots and ancient Oriental secrets. The copy is almost as believable as Gabriel's novel. Images haunt the pages of Philip Knight's sketchbook, the way they must have haunted his mind. The images touch a deep chord in Gabriel. So familiar are they that he finds it hard to believe they aren't from his own subconscious. Gabriel doesn't want to open that jar until he's ready to use the hair gel. It will get all over everything. Believe it or not, the flashlight does not open. It's a disposable. That object does not open. The magnifying glass doesn't open. That object does not open. A key winds the clock's mechanism. An elaborate mechanical clock, probably of German origin, is among the discarded treasures of the attic. It doesn't seem to be running at the moment. There's an interesting design in the base of the clock. A ring of 6 symbols surround the face of the clock. A sword, a sun, an angel, a noose, an eclipse, and a dragon. The face of the clock is hand-painted. It's the minute hand.
Granddaddy, you old fox.
The photo, probably at least 50 years old, shows 2 young men standing with an older man outside the castle.
I wonder who they are.
It's an old letter on fancy paper. The old photograph showed Gabriel's grandfather with two other men that Gabriel has not identified. The letter is addressed to Heinz Ritter, whoever that is. The photograph cannot be opened. The single sheet of paper doesn't need to be opened. The back of the photo has the following written on it: Schloss Ritter, 1925. The letter is written in German, but Gabriel determines what he can about it. It was sent from a place called Schloss Ritter in Rittersberg, West Germany. The letter is addressed to mein Sohn Heinz and signed Wilhelm Ritter. One of the recurring words strewn throughout the letter is the word Schattenjäger. The only thing that Gabriel can decipher about the letter is a sense of urgency in the handwriting and in the heavy use of quill-tipped bold strokes and underlining.
That's it. Take a load off, hon.
Can we talk, Gran?
Of course, my boy. How can I help?
Have you ever heard of a Schattenjäger?
Schattenjäger? Schattenjäger. How odd, Gabriel. I haven't heard that word in years. My goodness, you've given me a chill. Your granddad used to say that sometimes in his sleep.
Really? Do you know what it means?
No, I'm afraid not. I asked him about it once. I don't think he answered me. Odd.
Thanks, Gran. Do you know anyone named Heinz Ritter?
Heinz Ritter. Oh, Gabriel, where did you hear that name?
I found a letter in Granddaddy's clock.
I promised I'd never tell you or your father, but I suppose it doesn't matter now.
Tell me, Gran.
Your granddad's name was Heinz Ritter before he came to America. He changed it to Harrison Knight legally when he arrived.
Why did Granddad change his name?
I don't know. I tried to ask him about his family, his life before America, but he didn't want to talk about it. He never even told me about his name change. I found out one day when I saw his passport in a drawer. Since he obviously found it painful, I never questioned him about it. But I'm sure it wasn't trouble with the law. Your granddad was the best man I ever knew.
Didn't Granddad ever say anything about his past or his family?
Only that his family was crazy, and that he never wanted to see them again. He believed in some family curse, thought that he could spare Philip and Philip's children from what he called old nightmares. Whatever Harrison wanted to spare you, though, it cost him plenty. He never did sleep well, and he would often get a far-away, guilty look in his eyes. He was wrestling with something he thought he should be doing, someplace he thought he ought to be. I don't know how he could think that he should be anywhere but with me and our child. It's a terrible way to live.
Do you know anything else about Heinz Ritter?
I've told you all I know about your granddad's past.
Well, Gran, I better get going.
All right, dear.